can the Prime Minister tell Canadians if he's expecting a reduced or zero shipment from Moderna on the week of February 22nd?
It was going to be a massive challenge for companies around the world to develop and produce a vaccine that didn't exist yet when we were signing these contracts last summer. That's why we signed so many different contracts for so many potential doses for Canadians to ensure that we would be able to get Canadians vaccinated regardless of challenges or, yes, fluctuations in the week-to-week delivery.
And a good Prime Minister always has a backup plan in place. And the backup for that as well, plan A, B, and C. When it comes to Canada's vaccine procurement, these plans don't exist. In an interview with CTV last week, Minister Anand's parliamentary secretary admitted the Trudeau government chose the second best option in vaccine procurement, opting to rely solely on vaccines manufactured overseas. The UK was in the same position we were last year, with limited domestic manufacturing for vaccines. Their government focused on improving domestic vaccine production, and now over 12 million of their citizens, Leader, have received the first dose. Leader, our deliveries have been cut for weeks now. We have no domestic supply. What, Leader, is our backup plan?
Senator, thank you for your question, and for raising an issue that's of great importance to all Canadians. This government has a plan, and it's a comprehensive plan. With regard to your observation about manufacturing capacity, and here this is just a sad fact, but our underinvestment in vaccine production capacity began many decades ago. Publicly owned Connaught Laboratories was sold off by a previous government. Further cuts were made by a successive government as well. And in fact, as a result, our domestic manufacturing industry declined from a situation where we were importing less than 20% of our vaccines from the international market to nearly 85% today. But since 2016, the government which I represent has provided more than $10 billion for science and research, including 2018 investments, the single largest investment in fundamental research in Canadian history, responding to many years of budget cuts in science. The plan, as has been announced many times, involves diversifying our source of supply to 7 different international providers. More recently, entering into an agreement with Novavax, major investment of over $125 million to manufacture a vaccine at the new National Research Council Royal Mount facility in Montreal, which will begin production towards the end of the year. I could go on, colleagues. All Canadians are concerned. We're at the beginning of this first quarter, and the government remains committed to providing vaccines to all Canadians who want it by the end of September, and remains convinced that it is on track to deliver on that promise.
Senator Plett.
Well, Leader, you made one very correct statement. It is a sad fact. And now we're blaming previous governments. That is the ultimate, blaming previous governments. This government has been in power for 6 years. Canadian vaccine manufacturers needed your government's support last year, Leader. Your government. But your government had no Plan B or a Plan C. Providence Therapeutics is currently conducting human trials on its vaccine. The Trudeau government did not give this company the support it sought last year. Who knows how much further along we would be if that support had been given. Newfax in Montreal is another Canadian vaccine manufacturing facility that your government, not the previous government, Leader, your government ignored. Leader, what possible reason do you have for the Trudeau government, not previous governments, not supporting COVID-19 vaccine development with Canadian government companies? You can't go back in time. You can't blame other governments. But you can stop making the same mistake going forward. Will you engage with these companies now on vaccine development?
Well, Senator, thank you for your question. I was very careful in my words. I spoke of previous governments, and there have been many governments of different political parties. I did not single out the Mulroney government for its privatization program or the Harper government. I'm not blaming previous governments. I'm simply stating facts. With regard to your question,
Senator Mousakos, we don't hear you.
My question is for the government leader in the Senate. Senator Gold, considering China's belligerent behavior towards Canada, including the arbitrary detention of the two Michaels, their threats against Canadians, including parliamentarians, and China's vengeful ban on Canadian canola, with all of that, why did your leader, Justin Trudeau, place his entire bet on China for vaccines instead of betting on Canada's best and brightest? Why does your leader, Justin Trudeau, have more admiration for and faith in the communist Chinese regime than he does in Canadians?
Senator Gold.
Thank you for your question, but the assumptions and the assertions in your question are simply not founded. Canada did not place all of its bets in one manufacturing opportunity. Quite the contrary. Canada secured contracts for the largest number of doses per citizen and resident than any country in the world. With regard to the CanSino, which is, I believe, the initiative to which you're referring, once the Vaccine Task Force issued its revised expert opinion, the collaboration was ended with CanSino. It did not involve any transfer of sensitive Canadian technology, nor was any money paid under the agreement. And as I said before, the Canadian approach, which was multifaceted, simply proceeded to pursue the opportunities that I've already outlined.
Senator Mousakos, you have a supplementary?
Yes, please. Senator Gold, your government has secured millions and millions and millions of vaccines, but we haven't seen very many getting into the arms of Canadians. China walked away from the CanSino deal shortly after it was struck, honorable senators. They did so after we had already held up our end of the deal and sent vital information to them in developing a vaccine. Why isn't your leader out there every day calling them out for this? Why isn't Justin Trudeau asking for an apology from the Chinese government? Instead, he's issuing apologies to the Communist Party of China for some perceived slight over T-shirts emblazoned with a rap logo. Senator, why is your government making apologies to China for anything right now? Really, at what point do they apologize to us? If Canadians who deserve an apology from China, and for that matter, Canadians who deserve an apology from the Trudeau government?
Senator Gold.
Senator, this is not the first time, and I suspect, given your persistence, will it be the last time that I'm at pains to remind this chamber of the complexity and multifaceted nature of our relationship with China and the work that our government is doing with its allies to advance our interests and the interests of the free-speaking world. Indeed, in your question, you mentioned the two Michaels. You mentioned our significant export trade in canola. This but scratches the surface of the complexity of our issues. This government remains committed to working with its democratic allies to address the very serious issues that China's ambitions are posing not only for Canada but for the free world.